Picture it. The early 1980s. America is recovering from gas shortages, disco is dying, and GM is trying desperately to look cool again. Pontiac, the division famous for muscle cars, decides it's time for something radical. A mid-engine two-seater commuter car that looks like a Ferrari but is priced more like a Chevette. What could possibly go wrong? Well, fire. Welcome to Auto Chatter. As always, facts, opinion, and speculation will be given. And let's begin. The project began in 1978, codenamed P-Car. Pontiac engineer Hulky Aldi Cacti, hope I got that right, led the effort. Corporate GM only greenlit it because Pontiac pitched it as a fuel-efficient commuter car, not a sports car. It was the first mass-market U.S. car with a steel space frame chassis and non-structural plastic body panels. No rust, cheap to fix, and allowed easy restyling. Saturn would later copy this formula. It was actually one of the safer cars to be in at the time in a crash. Anyway, GM made it a parts bin special to keep costs down. What was the front suspension and drivetrain from a front-wheel drive Chevy Citation was now in the rear. Front steering and suspension pieces were borrowed from the Chevy Chevette, rear brake rotors from a Grand Am, and it had Cadillac calipers. Pontiac was raiding the GM kitchen and throwing it all in the pot. The target miles per gallon was 50 highway with the 4-cylinder. Spoiler alert, you could get that if you stayed under 55 miles an hour and turned off the AC. For 84 was the launch. Base engine was a 2.5-liter Iron Duke inline 4, rated at 92 horsepower and 134 pounds of torque. Got about 11 seconds, 0 to 60, quarter mile 18.5. This is faster than walking, but slower than some minivans. Transmission was a 4-speed manual or 3-speed automatic. Trims were base, coupe, sport coupe, and SE. Price was just under $8,000, which is about $23,400 today. Sales, 136,840 its first model year, which is the best-selling of all the Fieros. It did have some issues. The oil capacity was only about 3 quarts. Many owners didn't check the oil often, engines starved and overheated. Many engine fires were reported in 84 models. Recall was issued later. There was also a wiring harness one down the road that could lead to flame-broiled goodness if not corrected, as it was close to the exhaust manifold. Fun fact, the Indy 500 chose the Fiero as the 1984 pace car, the first 4-banger model to do so in 70 years. As the wheezy Iron Duke wasn't up to the task, a highly modified and bored-out 2.7-liter version gave the car 232 horsepower. Considering a Corvette with a V8 that year had 205, that was actually pretty cool. Pontiac made 2001 Indy replicas with white paint, aero body, and Indy graphics. Now they're highly collectible. Unfortunately, the street versions made do with the 92 ponies. 1984 gave us Ghostbusters. If Ray Stantz had a Fiero, the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man wouldn't have had been the only thing on fire. For 85, the V6 arrives. It was a new 2.8-liter, rated at 140 horsepower and 170 pounds of torque. 0 to 60 was now down to about 8 seconds. The GT trim was introduced. Smoother front fascia, body cladding, and sportier wheels. Transmissions was the 4-speed manual for the V6, 5-speed manual that was Isuzu sourced only on the 4-cylinder, or you'd get a 3-speed auto with either engine. Price was now starting around $8,578, so about $24,600 today. Sales were $76,371. The demand cooled a little, but it was still pretty strong. We're talking 2-seaters here. Fun little trivia, the car and driver tested a V6 GT. Their verdict was it was fun to drive, but it handled like a mid-engine Chevette. Back to the Future dropped the same year. Then the DeLorean had gull wings. The Fiero had gullible buyers. By the middle of '86, the Fastback GT was introduced with Ferrari 308-inspired flying buttress rear glass. Looked exotic enough that kit car companies started cloning Ferraris on Fiero chassis. GT V6 got a sleeker body, more aero bits, and improved suspension tuning. Sales were at 83,974, probably boosted because of the GT's good looks. Price was now $9,500 to start, or around $26,700 today. Had the same 140 horse V6, still got about 8 seconds to 60. No faster than last year, but it was prettier. Fun fact that Pontiac built 21,000 GTs in '86, making them relatively common. Top Gun introduced in 1986 as well, and everybody wanted to be Maverick, but nobody wanted to be the Fiero owner with a fire extinguisher. 1987 brought us a lot of little fixes and, unfortunately, a big drop in sales. Restyled bumpers, smoother nose and tail. Pop-up headlights were changed a bit, giving the car a little more modern look. There's a new GetRag 5-speed manual for the V6, finally making it feel like a proper sports car. Base 4 cylinders were upgraded, now with 98 horsepower. Sales plummeted, though, to $46,581. Price was now starting just under $10,000, or about $27,000 today. 1987 also introduced the Mira, a dealer-sold Ferrari 308 lookalike kit car, basically, that was built off of new factory Fieros. GM shut it down after Ferrari lawyers got involved. It didn't help that some dealers and owners slapped on real Ferrari badges and lookalike wheels to complete the effect. It was cheaper than a Ferrari 308, but you could almost buy a Corvette for what these cost then, so only the biggest Magnum PI fans need apply. They are rare, with only about 247 produced, but some others were created from parts molded from original Mira ones. Spaceballs and The Princess Bride debuted this year. Both are worth a rewatch or two, in my opinion. 1988 would mark the swan song for the Fiero. Pontiac finally gave it a suspension designed specifically for it. Double wishbones up front, tri-link in the rear, no more Chevette hand-me-downs. There's standard four-wheel disc brakes too. Formula trim was introduced. Lightweight coupe body plus V6 plus new suspension equals best driver's Fiero ever built. GT returned with fastback style, the pinnacle of the Fiero styling. The performance car and driver clocked the 88 GT at 7.9 seconds and 88 Gs on the skid pad, better than some Porsches. Sales collapsed though to 26,402. Price was about $10,500 or $27,800 today. The 88 Formula is one of the most collectible Fieros, and only 5,500 were made. Like Hans Gruber from Die Hard, the Fiero went out with potential and a spectacular fall. Total production for Fieros was 370,168 from 84 to 88. The car that looked like a Ferrari but could burn like a Pinto. GM killed the program just as Pontiac engineers had perfected it. A planned second gen with a dual overhead cam V6 and sleeker body was shelved. Fieros became famous as kit car bases. Thousands were turned into fake Ferraris, Lamborghinis, and even a few Countach knockoffs. Today, an 84 base car might be worth $3 to $6 grand, V6s 8 to 15. An 88 Formula GT may be $15,000 to $25,000 for an exceptional one. There is a cult following, and Fiero clubs still exist, keeping the plastic flame alive. And that's the Pontiac Fiero. A commuter car pretending to be a sports car pretending to be a Ferrari, and a Ferrari pretending not to sue Pontiac. It had innovation, passion, and flames. Lots of flames. But today it's remembered as a lovable oddball. Drop a like, hit subscribe, and let me know. Would you daily drive a Fiero, or would you rather just build a Ferrari kit car on top of it? Anyway, until Until next time, I'll be keeping the headlights on for you, and chatter out.